Good afternoon. I'm John Slattery, co-founder and CEO of BioROSA Technologies. At BioROSA, we're creating blood tests to speed up autism diagnosis and transform clinical care for patients around the world. What you're about to see is life as seen through the eyes of a child with autism. For children with autism, the interactions with the people and the world around them can be overwhelming. It produces stress, anxiety, fear, and is challenging not only for the child, but also for the family. Autism is a global pediatric healthcare concern that affects over 1 in 59 children in this country and over 30 million children worldwide. The estimated cost to society for caring for children with autism is a staggering $30 billion per year. Autism diagnosis today is reliant on time-consuming, expensive, one-on-one interactions between a child and a trained therapist. And herein lies the problem. Autism diagnosis is slow. It doesn't scale. And research has continually shown that early diagnosis and access to early intensive behavioral intervention leads to better outcomes for children. Yet from the time a parent suspects a problem in their baby to the time of an official autism diagnosis, the process takes 3 years. There's a critical window of brain development at 24 months, in which the developing brain undergoes a significant period of synaptic pruning. It's been demonstrated that children that receive access to a diagnosis and early intensive behavioral intervention before this period in time have tremendously improved outcomes. In fact, certain children have the ability to recover. But the autism diagnostic system is broken. Children are missing out on this critical window of opportunity, and as the autism problem continues to grow, we're in need of rapid, scalable solutions to this growing problem. And that's why we're creating a blood test. Our blood test is based on over 15 years of research in which we've found disturbances in key metabolic pathways that are known to be abnormal in patients either at risk for autism or diagnosed with the condition. These pathways are involved in foundational biological functions, including cellular methylation capacity, folate metabolism, redox homeostasis, and even create the building blocks for DNA. Notably, if there's problems in these key areas early during development, it will affect the developing brain and alter neurodevelopmental trajectories. Our first-in-class solution starts with blood that's collected from a child. From there, we run the blood through a mass spec instrument, which is a highly sensitive instrumentation technique. The data is then fed through proprietary machine learning algorithms in which we derive a score. To date, we can determine whether a blood sample came from a child with autism or not with over 95% sensitivity and close to 92% specificity, which is unmatched. While this is incredibly exciting and has the chance to truly change outcomes for children, we're just not quite there yet. Our next step is to do a validation study in which we put our biomarkers and algorithms up against today's gold standard, which is that one-on-one interaction between a child and a trained therapist. If our test is successful, we'll be able to bring a screening tool to market that will make sure that children have faster access to clinical care than is currently possible today and ensure that children do not miss out on that critical window of opportunity early in life. And that's just the beginning. We envision a future in which all children will have their BioROSA tests done at multiple points during that child's early development. We will be able to detect autism risk well before children ever develop symptoms of the disorder, and that will allow us to be proactive in terms of putting children into services faster than is possible today and lead to possible prevention for certain children. And while this tremendously moves the needle and changes the diagnostic paradigm for the better, That's not where things end for us. Today, there's no FDA-approved interventions in the marketplace for children with autism, and pharma needs better endpoints in their clinical trials. Multiple clinical studies have already shown that changes in our exact biomarkers correlate with meaningful clinical responses in patients. This is why, since the beginning of IndieBio, we've been able to enter into agreements or negotiations with multiple groups that are developing what we hope to be the first class of FDA interventions to come to market. As a companion diagnostic tool, we will have the ability in the future to detect autism and monitor clinical efficacy over time. This is the future that's possible. Starting with a diagnostic test, we'll be able to detect autism biologically, allow for detection of risk before we currently can today, address the disorder from a biological perspective, and allow for greater improvements in children and better response potential to behavioral treatments. We have a global exclusive license to this powerful IP that's been developed at Rensselaer in upstate New York. We look to further expand our IP portfolio in 2019. Our regulatory strategy, starting with our screening tool and companion diagnostic test, is to go through a CLIA-waived LDT. When we look to predict autism risk before children ever develop symptoms of the disorder, that will go through the FDA. Our business model is that as patients are referred to diagnostic centers in which they will undergo an official evaluation for autism, we will draw their blood to see if they test positive on the BioROSA screener. Children that are positive on our screener will be triaged into behavioral treatments faster than is possible today to ensure that no time is lost and that all children have access to treatment when they need it most. For pharmaceutical companies that are developing what we hope to be the first generation of treatments to come to market, they will pay $500 per test in order to use our test as a companion diagnostic. Until our test is covered by insurance, it will be $500 self-pay. Autism is a global pediatric problem, and no one solved it yet. But we're the right team to try and accomplish these lofty goals. Dr. Marie Causey, my co-founder and CSO, brings over 20 years' experience in developing LDTs and establishing CLIA labs. Jill James is the scientist at Arkansas Children's Hospital who discovered the metabolic biomarkers of autism, whom I was fortunate enough to work with for over 7 years. Myself, I've spent over 8 years dedicated to improving the lives of patients with autism and doing clinical research on this challenging patient population. We have an incredibly hands-on and active advisory board that assists our company in many key areas: bioinformatics and machine learning, autism clinical care and outreach, reimbursement and sales strategy, as well as general startup business mentorship for the diagnostic space. Upon securing Series Seed, we will be positioned to start executing on our validation and companion diagnostic studies in preparation for a Series A and commercial launch. We're seeking a $1.5 million Series Seed in order to create a new standard of care to improve patient lives. I ask you to join us on this journey as we look to bring missing pieces of the autism puzzle to market. Thank you.